Today, we're diving into one of the wildest turnaround stories in all of ancient history. We're going to talk about a guy who loses literally everything, only to claw his way back and end up with even more. This is the story of the single chaotic year that took Herod from a powerful ruler backed by Rome to a desperate fugitive on the run.
All right, just take a look at this. The contrast is just stark. In 41 BC, Herod is sitting pretty. He's a tetrarch, he's got Rome's full support, he's powerful, he's secure, but fast forward just 1 year, and the entire board has been flipped. By 40 BC, he's a fugitive, hunted, powerless, and completely desperate. So, the big question is, how on earth does a guy at the absolute peak of his power end up running for his life in just a matter of months?
Well, to really get how it all fell apart, you first have to understand that the power structure in Judea back then was, well, it was basically a house of cards, just waiting for one good gust of wind to knock the whole thing over. So here's the chain of command. At the very top, you've got the Roman Republic, obviously. They're pulling all the strings. Then you have the official local ruler, a guy named Hyrcanus II from the traditional royal family. But, and this is the most important part, the guys with the real muscle on the ground were Herod and his brother. They were Rome's enforcers. And the whole time, you've got this rival, Antigonus, just lurking in the shadows, convinced that throne belongs to him.
So what exactly was a tetrarch? Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a regional manager for Rome. Herod wasn't a king in his own right. His whole job was to prop up the official ruler and just keep things running smoothly. All of his authority? It wasn't his. It was basically on loan from Rome.
So you've got this incredibly fragile setup. And we all know what happens to a house of cards when a storm hits, right? Well, that storm was about to arrive, and it created the perfect conditions for a total collapse, because Rome, Herod's all-powerful backer, was in no position to help.
And I know what you're probably thinking right now. Wait a minute. If Judea is a Roman client state, why didn't the legions just march in and clean up the mess? Seems like a pretty simple fix, doesn't it?
Well, the answer shows a huge weakness in Roman power at this exact moment. Put simply, Rome was completely and utterly distracted. To the east, their biggest rival, the Parthian Empire, launched a massive invasion. That's a 5-alarm fire for them. But even worse, Rome was basically at war with itself. A huge power struggle was brewing between Mark Antony and Octavian. With Rome so busy fighting fires at home, its grip on faraway places like Judea became, well, dangerously loose.
And with Rome looking the other way, Herod's entire world came crashing down with unbelievable speed. Let's break down just how fast this all went down.
Okay, just look at this timeline. In 41 BC, Herod gets his big promotion from Mark Antony. The future looks golden. Then, just a few months later, the Parthians invade. The rival prince, Antigonus, sees his chance, teams up with them, and pulls off a brilliant coup. By the end of 40 BC, Herod is running for his life with nothing.
So from where Herod was standing, it was game over. I mean, he had no army, no title, and the new guy sitting on the throne wanted him dead. He had lost absolutely everything.
But he had one last card to play. It was a total Hail Mary, a desperate gamble. He decided to go straight to the heart of the beast, to Rome itself, the very empire that had just failed to protect him.
And this is where you see Herod's political genius really shine. He doesn't just storm into the Roman Senate and demand they make him king. No way. He was way smarter than that.
His official story, his public plea, was to ask the Senate to put the old ruler Hyrcanus back on the throne. See, he made it all about restoring Roman order, not about his own personal ambition. But his real goal? It was to stand there in front of all those powerful senators and present himself as the tough, loyal, and capable guy they needed to secure their border. It was a masterclass in politics.
So let's switch gears and put ourselves in the mindset of the Roman Senate for a second. These guys were not sentimental. They were pragmatic. They didn't care about tradition. They just needed a solution that worked. And they basically had two options. Option A, they could try to restore Hyrcanus. But let's be real. He'd already proven he was too weak to hold on to power. That was a bet on a past failure. Or option B, they could promote this ambitious, tough, and fiercely loyal guy standing right in front of them. For the Romans, who just needed someone strong to secure their border, it was a no-brainer.
So, in an absolutely stunning turn of events, the Senate just bypassed the old royal family completely. They looked at this fugitive who had risked everything to get to them, and they decided to give the top job to him. He literally went to Rome to ask for a crown for his old boss and walked out wearing it himself. What a power move.
But, and this is the big catch, A title from the Roman Senate doesn't magically make you a king. This wasn't a gift. It was a license to go to war. It was basically Rome's way of saying, all right, Herod, the kingdom is yours now, if you can take it.
Which brings us to the final massive question. In the span of a single insane year, Herod went from a powerful governor to a desperate fugitive, and then in the halls of the Roman Senate to a king in waiting. So a fugitive now had a title, but could he actually go out and conquer a kingdom?